Welcome to the Redeemer Podcast. I'm your host, Zach, and today we are joined by Redeemer's president, President David Zietsma. We're going to discuss and review and celebrate the year that was in 2023 and also look ahead to the future. If this is your first time here, make sure to like and subscribe, share with a friend, and check out some of our other episodes that explore various aspects of Redeemer, Christian education, and so much more. Thank you for making us part of your day, and with that, let's go. I am pleased to be joined by none other than Redeemer's president, David Zietsma. President Zietsma, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks, Zach. It's really awesome to be here.
Yeah, no, I'm so glad we can do this. Kind of the last episode of 2023. So thankful to have you come on, and we're gonna talk about and celebrate what happened at Redeemer in 2023. We're going to preview, what's ahead in the years to come at Redeemer. But before we get to any of that, could we just start? Let's talk a little bit about Redeemer's mission. I feel like that's been a talking point, like within faculty, staff, and students for a couple of years now. Could we maybe just start diving right in? What is Redeemer's mission?
Yeah, it's a great question, Zach, and I think we've worked really hard over the last number of years to really clarify that for ourselves as an organization. And so, Redeemer was founded in the Reformed Christian tradition and believes that education and learning is in fact a spiritual activity. So, we're engaged in really shaping students and speaking into knowledge from a Christian perspective in such a way that people grow more deeply in their relationship with Jesus Christ while they're learning, and that they can explore their giftedness and their calling and sort out what God has in store for them. And it's been an exciting time with respect to clarifying our mission. We recently approved new mission statements that we'll be rolling out in 2024. And essentially, Redeemer's mission is that, as an organization, we are preparing students to reflect the love of Jesus Christ in every calling and career.
And that's so important, especially when you look at Christian education and where it's at in Canada, and just it's exciting that anyone who's part of Redeemer is part of that mission and part of that vision. So definitely excited about that. So in regards to I do want to just briefly touch on. I know there's an article posted. What does it mean, or what does reform mean? Have you got a chance to read that article or speak to it at all?
Yeah, it's actually a web page on Redeemer's website, and
Right.
anybody can go check it out. And it's really just trying to disentangle that complicated word reformed, which is kind of a theological and denominational term. But yet, when we unpack that, it means so much about our holistic understanding of living for Christ in all areas of life, and engaging both our culture and society around us, but also growing through our learning individually in our relationship with God as well. So we unpack that term and what it means for Redeemer on an awesome web page on our website. And I would encourage anybody who's interested in what we mean by that to go check that out, because I think it's really helpful.
Awesome. And shameless plug for the Redeemer podcast. We do have an episode where we do a deep dive into that as well. So definitely check it out. It's a fantastic article. Well, that being said, David, let's talk about 2023. 2023 at Redeemer was a big year. There were lots of different events that happened. There was lots of new students that came in. There has been lots of learning done, and I it's been cool to see, even as we get past the pandemic, just how there's kind of a new vibe, a new life in campus that's been really cool to see. Could you maybe speak to what have been some of the highlights for Redeemer University this past year?
Wow, that's a big question, Zach. So many amazing things have happened over the past calendar year as we look back, and obviously, there's a lot to celebrate and a lot to give thanks to God for on our campus. And one of the most amazing things, really over the last couple of years, has been the expansion of Redeemer's degree granting authority. Already a few years ago, we were able to launch our Bachelor of Business Administration degree, and obviously see a growing number of students interested in taking that business degree here at Redeemer. And then following up on that, we were able to offer a Bachelor of Kinesiology. And
Mm.
that's just a fantastic opportunity for students interested in health, physical education, the human body, those sorts of things, to come and get a degree that's sort of relevant and meaningful to them and aligns with their hopes. And then this past year, actually, we were able to add a third new degree, a Bachelor of Communication and Media Studies. And so, really, over the last 3 years, we've been able to double the number of degrees that Redeemer offers, and 2023 was a year
Wow.
where that continued, and we're just so excited. We give thanks to God for the opportunity to be offering more degrees in a wider variety of areas.
As an alumni of the media program myself, I'm very excited about that Bachelor of Communications degree. So very, very, very thankful for that. What about, could we talk about some of the events that happened? I know it feels like so much have happened, but you know, let's start with the Kiefer conference.
Sure. One of the things that's really important to our mission is that, even as we're engaged in preparing students, we do that from a position of exploring deeply various areas of knowledge and learning. So, various disciplines. And so our faculty are engaged in research, and we're engaged in conversations about uh, sort of academic knowledge, the study of various disciplines. So, last spring, we were able to host the Kuiper Conference here at Redeemer, which brought scholars, theologians from all across North America and from around the world, actually, to engage in conversations about reflecting on a Christian perspective on a particular area or discipline. And this past spring, we were able to host Makoto Fujimura, a well-known artist,
So cool.
and he was able to share a little bit about his perspective on theology and art, and how artists can serve God through their calling in art, and how art
Mm.
can bring glory and praise to God, and reflect the love and hope that we have in Jesus Christ. So, to be able to host that conference and engage in those conversations with a world class artist like Makoto was a fantastic opportunity to reflect our mission. And students were highly engaged. I mean, we had Makoto's art in the art gallery on campus, and students, particularly from art, but from a number of disciplines, were able to engage in, wow, what does it mean to really live into my giftedness in this or that area, and to do that in ways that reflect the hope that we have in Jesus. And what does our world need more today than hope, and a sense of how things can be restored to the way they were intended to be through Jesus Christ.
All those were amazing events, and I enjoyed, as a staff member, engaging with those events and seeing students and faculty coming together to as a community grow together through events like that is really exciting to see. And we got to talk about it. It's the biggest event in Redeemer's history. What are your thoughts now that we're a couple months removed from the Rend Collective concert?
Yeah. um, you know, uh, Being able to host a worship concert here at Redeemer was something we were very privileged to do. And it's something that the wider Christian support community that's engaged with Redeemer, I think was able to appreciate. And
Hmm.
we don't want to live out our faith in a closed bubble. We want to express that broadly, and to be able to host a worship conference and invite the community, invite high school students in to get an experience of Redeemer through the concert, to learn more about our programs. Obviously, as you said, it was the biggest campus visit day in Redeemer's history, with nearly 200 campus visitors here checking out Redeemer, and thinking about coming in the fall. So, um, it was just an honor to be able to praise God on those evenings, and we really felt the Spirit of God moving on
Hmm.
campus, and really, I think, felt the energy of Redeemer's growth, of some of the changes on campus, of some of the opportunities that students have here through new degree opportunities, really culminating in an exciting concert weekend and an exciting campus visit day for high school students.
And even and again, I'm an admissions counselor, so I was on the road talking about that concert. It was exciting. The concert itself was fantastic, exciting,
Mhm.
but the lead up to the concert was really cool. And seeing the 100 Huntley Street got involved, and all these different organizations that wanted to come and be part of it. It was so exciting to see that in that context.
Yeah, it was an amazing, wider Christian community event in many ways as well. Zach, you're absolutely right, and there was a lot of excitement about it, and people are hungry to express their thankfulness and praise to God, and even in difficult times. And
Mhm.
certainly one of the key Rend Collective songs that I appreciate very much emphasizes the need to just praise God with your hallelujahs,
Mm.
despite what might be going on around you. And I think, um, as people look around the world with war, division, polarization in the culture, um, it really felt like a moment when a lot of people came together and celebrated what God has done for them and the hope we have of one day God making all things new again. And we get to point to that here and now, and that's what we want to involve our students in. That's the purpose of Redeemer, even as we look forward to one day when God will make all things new and wipe away every tear.
Absolutely. No, the Rend Collective, I'm going to remember that for the rest of my life. It was a fantastic event. Couple now, so another event that was a huge success. Can you tell me about the concert that happened after the Rend Collective concert?
Yeah, so every few years or so, led by Dr. Chris Tucson, we've put on the Messiah here at Redeemer, all often involving our choir, of course, and alumni
Mhm.
choir, and um, you know. It was a real honor to host that, of course, this year as Dr. Tucson's final concert as a faculty member. He's retiring, and we're celebrating all the amazing things that
Mhm.
Dr. Tucson has done here at Redeemer over so many years. But it was a packed house and just a fantastic performance involving so many alumni and students. And what an amazing way to kind of enter December and to
Yeah.
look forward to the Christmas season, but also to celebrate the amazing impact of Redeemer in so many different areas.
Absolutely. I love it when we can use our facilities to do events like that.
Mm.
Speaking of our facilities here, I think I graduated in 2020, and even I look at when I was a student in Redeemer, the building looks dramatically different. Can you maybe talk about sort of the strategic initiative in sort of the physical reservations renovations of the campus?
Absolutely. I mean, a few years ago, we launched Learn Forward, our strategic plan. And one of the key strategies of that strategic plan was to ensure that we had relevant, sort of modern, sustainable facilities. And, students, expect and should expect a high quality learning environment, including the facilities in which they learn. And so we've been committed to undertaking upgrades, renovations, new construction where necessary in order to sort of upgrade the campus facility and the learning and living environment here. So, right now I'm sitting in the new innovation space. Doing the podcast is an amazing space. We have a maker space here, Center for Innovation, Entrepreneurship, and an innovation hub for students. And here I'm in the what do we call this, Zach, the green room, or a place
Something like
where
that.
absolutely, like, it's fantastic investment by Redeemer to enhance the learning environment for students and get them plugged into innovation and ideation and innovation design thinking. But we've upgraded a number of different areas, including the dining halls, which have been moved into a more modern, sustainable space in terms of their look and feel and the way they're laid
Hmm.
out. And we also opened the Welcome Center at the south end of campus, which is our frontline center for greeting all guests and visitors that come to campus. And I think over the last number of years, we've invested a lot in building a safe and secure parking environment for students. Recognizing that Redeemer's part of a suburban large city, and
Yep.
and that city is all around campus now. And so we've invested a lot in lighting and secure parking facilities for students, and it's all really exciting. And to see the changes on campus. You know, uh, the area that I'm sitting in right now is part of the Caris Live and Learn Center, which opened 2 years ago and has
Yeah.
174 beds for students, in addition to classroom and learning spaces. So we've had to do that because of all the excitement and growth that we've seen on campus. We're over 1,050 students. We've got 550 plus students living on campus now, and so Redeemer's growing. It's an exciting time, and more and more young Christians are saying, "Hey, I want to go to a place where I can express my faith and talk about my faith and deepen my faith while learning in an environment of excellence, and one that's going to prepare me to find the career that God's got ready for me and where I can serve Him best."
Well said, and it's fantastic that, and I absolutely celebrate the changes that have been made on campus, and especially like taking out the mailbox wall to open up the dining hall to the commons and just getting that natural light in there. Oh, I love it. I love it.
One of the busiest spots on campus now, Zach.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, and rightfully so, right? Like when I give a tour of the campus, I often start in the commons,
Mm.
just to kind of say, this is a central hub to our campus. When students have that group project that they're meeting up for, they often meet in the commons, grab some Tims, and then go from there.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
Let's talk a little bit about some of the engagement towards new indigenous artifacts displayed and kind of land history. Can you speak to that at all?
Yeah, absolutely. So the location of Redeemer happens to be on land that is rich in Indigenous heritage and
Mhm.
communities that lived here in the late 1200s and early 1300s. So, as we've engaged in various developments over the years on our land, and we've engaged in archaeological digs, and so we've learned over many, many years now, nearly 40 years of history, that um, Redeemer is on a very rich heritage site with many artifacts. And so we have many of those artifacts here on campus and have been holding them and recently investing in displaying them,
Mhm.
recognizing the difficult and tragic past of Indigenous communities in Canada and wanting to engage in an effort to reflect our Christian values and perspective on human life and the createdness of all people. We wanted to do right by the artifacts
Mhm.
that reflected the Indigenous heritage on our land. So we've engaged with leaders from the Indigenous communities to talk about how best to talk about and display those artifacts. And we're really excited that we're going to move forward to a more fulsome display and sharing of that history and heritage, and that we're doing so in conversation with the Indigenous community in ways that they can be involved and feel like their voice is also speaking in to how we're sharing that story of the past here on the land that Redeemer currently sits on. So we're really excited by that. We feel that it reflects very much the way that God would want us to honor the createdness of human beings and humanity, and the history and culture that has been present on this land in the past.
That's fantastic, and it's great that we can have that open and honest dialogue in regard to it, which is an important one, absolutely, especially in our society to this day.
And
Well,
Zach, if you want to know more about that, Zach, there's a whole article on Resound in the most recent issue of Resound on sort of restoring pathways and things like that. So, fantastic opportunity to read a bit more deeply. How's that for a plug?
plug away. Any chance we get a chance to plug Resound, I'm all about that. I'm totally game for that. Absolutely, read your latest copy of Resound. Um, let's maybe pivot a little bit here. We've talked a lot about 2023 and just so thankful for the year that was. Let's maybe pivot a little bit and talk about 2024 and years to come here.
Mhm.
I and David, I am a little selfish here, okay? I am an admissions counselor. This is my world. I'm on the road a lot. I'm at conferences, I'm at booths, and people are always asking me, "Do you guys have master's programs?" So I'm taking this opportunity to be a little selfish and say, is there any plans for in the coming years to look and investigate starting some master's programs at Redeemer?
Yeah, right now we're in a phase of strategic exploration of a number of different opportunities, Zach, and we realize the post-secondary market continues to change.
Hmm.
That young Christians continue to look for a wide variety of learning opportunities in their university and post-secondary experience, and so we're engaged in a period of strategic exploration. But I think looking forward, we have the ability to grant a number of different master's degrees, and so we are exploring those, and our goal is to be offering hopefully at least one master's degree by fall 2025, and maybe one or two beyond that. And it remains to be seen what those are. But some of the key areas we're looking at right now are business, maybe something in theology and the arts. There's also opportunities potentially in education and science. But you know, there's a lot of work to be done to get there.
Yeah.
There's a lot of approvals that we have to go through, and certifications to be gone through in order to get to that point. But take heart, we're exploring those, and we're trying to get ourselves on the pathway to arrive at that within a couple of years.
That's so exciting, and absolutely, I don't think you don't just go into your office one day and whip off a master's
No.
program. Yeah. What about beyond master's programs?
Mhm.
What about new certificates, degrees, other delivery models?
Yeah, I think we're exploring those now, and our hope is to be able to begin offering micro credentials within the next 2 years as well.
Cool.
Smaller, bite-sized chunks of a degree that can be taken either as standalone micro credentials for people that might be mid-career or early career or even later career,
Hmm.
and then maybe they can stack those into a degree as well. And so there's a significant and growing market for that, and also certificate programs for postgraduate learners who want to get further specialization in a particular area, and we're looking at how we might deliver those in new formats, not only in person, but perhaps entirely online or in hybrid formats. So certainly we're in a process of strategic review of what those opportunities might be for Redeemer. Clearly, we remain committed to our undergraduate degree programming, to ensuring a strong education program, and to building strong programs here on campus, while also trying to address gaps that there might be where Christian adult learners, Christian post undergraduate learners are looking for other opportunities to add to their skills, add to their educational background and knowledge. And so we're engaged in a process of assessment right now of what those things might be for Redeemer that are aligned with our mission, that help us to carry out that mission to a wider variety of people in new ways.
So what you're telling me is I need to wait and see, and there's some good things
A little
coming.
bit,
Yeah.
a little bit is
All right.
that. Hopefully, you're a patient guy, Zach. But look, it's not too far down the road, but it's a little bit too early for me to say it's going to be this or that. And
Absolutely.
I think there's various teams, plugging away at this stuff, and we're just really excited for what God is going to do next in the area of what degrees Redeemer will be offering, and what other educational opportunities, because we think God is really at work and leading us forward in adding to what we're already doing, and building a stronger Redeemer through that.
And I think people forget Redeemer is still a very young institution. In regards, like we just celebrated our 40th anniversary a year ago, was it? And we're
Yeah, absolutely. In terms of post-secondary university institutions, we're very young. Many institutions have decades, centuries old, pedigrees and histories. In Canada, often a bit less, but decades, century, for sure. And so we're not even half a century old as an organization, and we're sort
oh,
of growing into new areas and new directions. And we remain committed to doing that within the context of our unique Christian mission, and really
mhm.
living into that.
Absolutely, absolutely, and well, I'll keep my patience, but I look forward to what's to come. Speaking of kind of what's to come, are there any more plans for kind of campus improvements? I know you touched on what we've done, but any specific area of the school that might change over the next couple of years?
I think we're just going to continue to engage in upgrades in Founders Hall in terms of the overall look and feel, and ensuring that areas that are experiencing a bit of tiredness in terms of when they were originally built, that those get upgraded and renovated, and we continue to invest in our residence facilities as well, in renewals and upgrades there. And so I think, over the next year or two, that's where we're at. Of course, beyond that, who knows? The success of some of the new initiatives might require new spaces, and we're in a constant space of assessing that.
Okay, awesome. And now, something I really want to touch on. I know we're running out of time, but I appreciate you taking the time to do this. But for let's talk back 2019, one of the biggest announcements ever. I'll never forget. I was in the Commons when I got this email telling me that Redeemer was reducing tuition by 42%. Where are we at in the
Yeah.
tuition restructure, from 2019 to where we are now?
Oh, great question, Zach. And I'm glad you could benefit from that for a couple of years. But obviously, we partnered with a group of donors who really wanted to get Redeemer to a more sustainable place in a way that made Christian university affordable for
Mhm.
more families. And so we worked on a pathway to restructure our tuition and fees in such a way that tuition for domestic Canadian undergraduate students was under $10,000 and was much more competitive with publicly assisted universities, particularly in Ontario, which are often between $7,000 and $9,000. So our tuition remains, $9,990 or somewhere in that range, so under $10,000. And our commitment long term is to keep it within that range of the publicly assisted universities. So they've been frozen in terms of their ability to raise tuition at publicly assisted universities for about 5 years, and our tuition has remained almost unchanged since the 2019 reduction. So our commitment is to maintain that affordability long term. And so we had to do a lot of restructuring to get to that point, but we're confident and excited that we can continue to offer tuition moving forward at affordable and competitive rates with Ontario's publicly assisted universities, and that won't be changing anytime soon. So we're grateful for God's provision to make that possible, and we're grateful for some of the strategies that we were able to put in place to ensure that we can maintain that for the next generation of students.
And I thank you so much for speaking to that. And I just something that I've learned going from a student to a staff member is how many people are working behind the scenes to keep Christian education affordable in
Mm-hmm.
Canada. And it's just that's something I absolutely want to celebrate,
Mm-hmm.
for now and for the future as well.
Absolutely.
Um, I know we're coming close to the end of our time here, but let's maybe talk in this last little segment here, learning in Christ.
Mm.
I've heard that popping up the past couple of weeks. As I talk to people, so it's the 2023-2024 theme. Where does that kind of come from, and what's that going to be looking like as we emphasize it, learning in Christ in 2024?
Yeah, and that's a great question, Zach. And that phrase comes from Colossians chapter 2, and we are focused on when we are learning or engaged in the process of learning, whether it's in the classroom, whether it's faculty in research. We want to anchor that in our spiritual groundedness in Jesus Christ. That we continue to understand that Jesus is sovereign over all of life. He is all things were created through him, for him, and by him. And when we learn in the context of understanding the cosmic story of God's work in the world, our learning deepens our relationship with Christ. And so, in that sense, when we learn about either biology or accounting or art or writing or history or politics or whatever it is that we're learning about, when we frame that in the context of God's created work and purposes and His unfolding work in the world, it deepens our relationship to God, and it builds up a stronger foundation for us as believers, so that when we're ready to go out and live into God's calling, we're prepared to do that with conviction about who Jesus is, with conviction about his love for the world and his hope for the world, and with conviction that we can bring the restoring hope of Jesus to the work we're doing, whether that's in science or business or art or anywhere else, to the work itself, and reflect the created goodness of God in that work, but also reflect that out to others that we work with, those we come into contact with. So that theme of the year, it bleeds through our chapels throughout the year, and
Mhm.
and we hope it bleeds into courses and themes in learning environments across campus, and really to remind us and ground us in our overarching mission.
Wow. I'm looking forward to it. There's so much to celebrate. And if you're watching this and you're interested in anything that David and I discussed in this episode, please reach out to us at admissions@redeemer.ca. We'd be happy to connect. And David, thank you so much for taking the time to join the podcast.
Thank you so much, Zach. You're doing an amazing job with the podcast. Keep it up. It's good to see you again. You're still styling that awesome haircut. Really appreciate that.
Always.
Keep going, Zach. Well done.
Thanks, David. And God bless, and we'll see you in the next episode.